Hello, my name is Bonnie and this is my channel, A Knitter Obsessed. This is my knitting podcast where I talk about all things knitting currently going on in my life. That typically takes the form of regular podcast updates where I talk about all of the projects that I'm currently working on. But today, because it is January and is the beginning of a new year, I would like to go through what some of my plans are for 2025. So I thought, first of all, I went through an old video of mine. I think it was like my third or fourth video I ever recorded for this channel. And I think it came out either late February or like early March of last year. But I went through my knitting goals for last year then. And so it's been a little less than a year since I, made my first set of goals because I made them a little late. But I did go back through that video, and so I thought we'd do a little recap on what those were and how I did on them. There weren't very many. I wasn't particularly ambitious. And then I wanted to go through just the handful of goals that I have for the upcoming year and then finish up with my Make 9 for 2025, which I'm really excited about, as well as all of the yarn that I'm going to be using for it, because for almost all of the projects, I already have the yarn picked out. So it should be a lot of fun. It'll be a little bit of show and tell to end the video with. I have a notebook right here with some notes. Let's get into it. We'll go straight into what my goals for last year were. So like I said, these goals aren't even quite a year old. Last year was my first year of garment knitting, and so these goals were made with that in mind, knowing that I'd only made a handful of sweaters, I think 3 at the time that I made those goals, and they were all very basic raglan sweaters, just stock net, and so I was looking for, at goals that would help expand my skill set just a little bit. And so my goals were that I wanted to knit my first pair of socks, which that one was a success. I did knit 2 pairs of socks last year. Both of them followed the I'm So Basic sock pattern by Summer Lee, and I really loved the process of both of them, and I absolutely see more socks in the future. I don't think I'll ever be someone who knits a ton of socks necessarily. I could see knitting a few pairs each year, but I don't, some people just churn out socks and I'm so impressed, but they don't really hold my attention enough for that probably to be the case for me. But I am really happy that I knit a pair of socks. And I think I would expand on that this year. I would like to knit socks in different constructions. So I would like to experiment with different heel types. I would like to try toe up socks because I've only done cuff down. I'd like to try some sort of textured sock, either with a cable or a lace pattern. Nothing specific. I just would like to try at least 1 or 2 pairs that are new to me and expand my skills a little bit. So I will actually kind of just keep that goal going into 2025, I think. My next goals, this one was like a 3-in-1. I wanted to expand my sweater knitting skills by knitting a cabled sweater, a lace sweater, and a colorwork sweater all sometime in 2025. And this one, I got 1 out of the 3. So I did knit a cabled sweater within 2024, and that was my Wishbone sweater by Veronika Lindberg. And that one's been all over the channel, so I will link up the video where I go all over that sweater up, in the corner, whichever corner it is, that YouTube lets me link it, and you can go check that out if you want. I love that sweater. I have a lot to say about it because it's one of my favorite things I've ever knit. But I never got to a lace sweater. I got distracted by lots of other projects. I did knit garments with some lace in them. So I knit a ranunculus. I've actually knit 2 ranunculuses since that video. I knit the Noose Light by Elizabeth Judith, which does have it has 1 lace panel in it. But the intention when I made this goal was that I would knit an all over lace sweater at some point and just really, challenge my lace skills, which I've knit lace before and I've now knit sweaters before, but I have not combined the 2 skill sets yet. So I would call that one a fail, but not I'm judging myself or anything, just didn't get to it. And then the other one was to knit the colorwork sweater, and that did not happen either. And I'm gonna be real honest and just say I'm really intimidated by colorwork, and that goal is moving into 2025 because I need to get over that fear, and there's just so many sweaters that I'm so envious of and I want to knit so badly and I want them in my wardrobe, but they have colorwork in them and I just need to kind of go for it and give it a go. I mean, what's the worst that happens? I have to rip it out and try again. That's part of knitting. I just need to try. So you will see I actually have plans for both lace sweaters and colorwork sweaters in my Make 9. So those will be priorities going into the new year as well. My other goal was that I would put out a video for the podcast every single week. That was a massive fail. I find that is a little unreasonable for me. Unrealistic, that's the word I'm looking for. Especially back when I first started the podcast, I was working full time. I also teach ballet on the during the week. Not a lot, just, 1 or 2 nights a week depending on when they need me, but I am busy on Monday nights because of that. I do also have other like activities that I'm a part of, and filming and editing just takes time, and it takes a lot of planning and a lot of like creativity to come up with the videos and stuff, and it turned out just to be a little bit more time consuming than I expected it to be, based on when I first, how I was doing when I first recorded that goals video. So I think my goal for the next year is that I want to put up a video at least every other week and sometimes every week. So like on occasion I'll have a run of 3 or 4 weeks in a row where I'm able to have a video every week, but on weeks when I need a break or I have other things going on or I'm just too busy, I'm also letting myself have the space to take a week off here and there and not, judge myself too harshly or feel like I'm like failing the channel or be like, well, I didn't put one out last week, might as well just not do one for a while. It's just about having some grace and understanding that life happens and that honestly this channel is just for fun and it's okay. So that goal failed, and also I am not making that goal again for this year. I just want to be intentional with the channel and put out videos that I'm proud of and I enjoy, and that's really the only goal I have, and I'm comfortable with that. And then the last one, and this one is absolutely going into 2025 as well, is to find balance in my knitting and to not let it absolutely consume me in a way that becomes unhealthy. And I did go into this in that knit and chat video from last year, and it's just that I have a tendency with all of my hobbies, all of my interests, to just get a little hyper fixated on them and sort of burn myself out. And knitting is not an exception. And so especially with doing the podcast, it tends to keep it on my mind more often than it would if I weren't doing podcasts, because I tend to be thinking about, details of patterns and what I want to talk about and like when should I film and all this. It just makes it a much more present thing in my head all of the time. And I did have periods last year where I started to have some hand pain and I had to just step back and take a break. I did have periods where I found myself getting like weird, feeling like I had like some weird pressure on me to finish things for videos, but that was completely coming from me. Like it's not a real pressure and no one's expecting me to have finished objects every week. I just was getting excited about things and wanted to talk about them with you guys and was trying to push myself to finish them, and I don't need to do that. And so I am bringing the find balance goal back, through with me into 2025. And it's not like a, you need to knit less or you need to do this or you need to, I don't know, it's not strict. It is much more just about intentionality, and like that word kind of irritates me. I don't mean like I have to be intentional with every single thing I do. No, I just mean if my hands start to hurt, I need to take a second and be like, why do I want to keep knitting? Is it because I'm having fun? Is it because I'm feeling anxious and I'm doing this to calm myself down? Because that is usually I'm using knitting to deal with some anxiety. So, because I'm always anxious, it's just how my brain works. And if my hands hurt, could I maybe go for a walk? Could I, like it is just about slowing down a little bit and taking a second to make sure I'm not getting too caught up in things. It's not like a goal to knit less or anything like that, because honestly, I like knitting and it makes me happy, and I'm not gonna, not knit. But also I want to make sure I'm knitting for the, to make myself happy and not because I'm getting all worked up about something. And then I am going to add one last goal for 2025. I don't have a lot of new goals because I'm pretty happy with the ones I came up with. I'd like to keep pushing my knitting techniques. So I really want to try color work. I'm really excited about like continuing to explore new sweater constructions. I'd like to do like saddle shoulders and like just starting to like kind of look at how things are put together. I'm also starting to become really interested in like the more technical side of knitting, like the math and all that stuff. And so regardless of like what I want to knit, I do just want to this year pay more attention to like how like patterns work and like what the math is doing and like how they're constructed. And so that way I can start looking into more ways to like modify sweaters for myself and get really, really perfect fits. So my big goal this year is to start learning how to make really, really well-fitting garments. And I'm really motivated by that basically because of the sweater that I'm wearing, which is the Oslo Sweater by Petit Knit that I just finished like a month ago. And this is the best fitting sweater that I've made yet. And so I want to understand why some sweaters are the best fitting sweaters ever and why some sweaters are just okay, and start working on making the modifications that I need for all of my garments. So that's a huge goal in 2025. And then my last goal is to work on getting less caught up in yarn buying. So it's not that I'm putting myself on like a no buy, or that I'm even trying to like cut back on yarn. This isn't like, I'm not like worried about my stash. I don't feel like freaked out by how big it is or anything like that. However, this last year was my first like real introduction to the hand-dyed yarn market in general. I'd never really known about indie dyers before last year. I had gone to my like local yarn store, and so I knew about like the nicer yarn that was there versus, you know, more like, you know, Lions brands and like patents and stuff like that that's more commercial. Like I understood that kind of difference, but I'd never gone into this like indie hand-dyed realm. And I got a little caught up in it, and I got a little bit hooked by like the scarcity mentality that that market really kind of promotes. And I probably spent a lot more on yarn than I really think was reasonable for my personal budget. And so it's not, it's just, for me, it's about being, you know, aware that, yeah, that colorway may be limited. That, first of all, does not mean that you will never see it again. They do, you know, most dyers bring back colorways here and there when they're really popular. But also, even if you never see it again, there will be more beautiful colorways. And so like, you don't need to buy yarn right now. You don't need it. And you know, you can buy yarn when you're ready for projects, and the yarn will still be there. And it's just keeping that in my mind and getting a little bit more resilient to these like sales and these pre-orders and these festivals. And I got excited, and it was a lot of fun. But my goal going into 2025 is to just buy less and to just buy more within my means. So that being said, I'm going to try really hard to not buy any yarn for at least the first half of the year, because I have the yarn for all of the projects that I want to knit. And I just genuinely don't need more. Like, I'm okay. But I do like I'm going to have a credit with Treehouse Knits for the sample knit that I just recently did for her. And so like, that would be the exception. Like, that's not money coming out of my pocket. That's, you know, money that is already earmarked towards certain yarns. And I would absolutely allow myself to spend, you know, to get some Treehouse Knits yarn in. Like, I'm not, that's what I'm saying. It's not really a stash thing. I'm not like being like, oh, no yarn and no more yarn. Like, we're cutting back on yarn. It's more just being aware of my spending and being a little bit more mindful with it. So those are all my goals. I think I did okay. I mean, for less than a year ago, let the school bus go by. So for less than a year ago, making those goals, and I hit about half of them. And the ones that I didn't hit, I still feel like are very reasonable and are just ones that I'm willing to just keep bringing along with me. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I think this is a good set of goals, just to keep pushing my skill set, keep learning new things, and be more mindful in what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. That's pretty much all I got. So with that, let's get into the fun one. Let's talk about my Make 9, because I'm really excited about all these projects and all this yarn. First on my Make 9 is the Cognac Sweater by Atelier Castin. And if you've been following me for a while, this is no surprise to you. I've been talking about this sweater for a few months now. And so my plan is to knit this, hold on, having some yarn tangles, holding these two yarns together. So I have the Cashmere Sock Blend, I think is the name of it, base by Witchfire Fibers in the colorway Ebb, held with the Truffula Cashmere base by Treehouse Knits in the colorway I'm Not Chipped, Just a Little Broken. And I absolutely love these together. It gives this like, the Truffula Cashmere kind of mutes down the Ebb, but the Ebb pulls this one more green. And together you get this absolutely beautiful fabric, which I can show you because not only is this in my Make 9, but I already cast this on and knit a lot of it. So here's what the sweater's looking like. You can see they definitely have a marled look to them, but I really like the way this looks. I think it's really unique and interesting. I've got most of the first sleeve done already. So yeah, I'm really excited about this one. I did cast this on in 2025. I cast it on like 3 days ago, and it's already just rolling. It's doing good. And that's because it's knit on like US 10 needles. It's a fingering and a fluff yarn knit on a really big gauge, a lot like the Lento sweater that's really popular. But instead of being a raglan like the Lento, it's got these really beautifully fitted contiguous sleeves. I think it's contiguous. And it's all done through like increases and decreases, and I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be just an amazing fitting sweater. I really like this color. I'm a big sucker for like teals, which again, if you've been watching for a while, you know. But yeah, this is my first one, and it's obviously already happening, so this one will be the first of my 9 projects that are, I'm most like prioritizing this year, but hopefully this one actually won't be done in too long. So that's number 1. The next one is the one and only accessory on this list. So I will say for my Make 9, I might be being a bit ambitious because I think I have 7 sweaters, 1 tank top, and 1 accessory. So it's very sweater heavy. And I did make 8 sweaters last year, but like 7 is coming right on what I made last year as like a total. So we'll see if I get all of these done, but these are the ones I'm the most excited about, and I just didn't feel, I don't know, I didn't want to be like necessarily realistic. I wanted to be excited, if that makes sense. But for my 1 accessory, I want to do the Night and Day Cowl by Andrea Mallory in these 2 Harrisville Designs yarns. So first one is I have the Harrisville Designs Nightshades in the colorway Fever Dream, and this is left over from my Bibliophile 2 sweater that I made last year, and I'll try and get it close so you can see. It might be hard in this light, but it's this black yarn with these kind of like red bits in it, so it's got a reddish tint to it, but it's not super even. I love this color. I think it's gorgeous. And then that's this is the yarn that the pattern calls for, and I just happen to already have one. So last time I went to my local yarn store, I went ahead and just picked up one of the daylights to go with it, and this is in the colorway Lint, and you can just see it's this sort of beigey white color, and so together they'll be really nice and high contrast together. But I feel like the reddish color of the Fever Dream sort of brings out the warmness in the Lint, and I think they're gonna look really nice. Yeah, and I've been honestly like having to talk myself out of casting this one on because I just think it'll be a lot of fun, and I really like working with this yarn. It's like a woolen spun yarn. It's rustic but not scratchy, and it just knits up beautifully. So I'm really excited to see how this cowl comes together. It's a like slip stitch mosaic-y type of cowl. It's knit flat and then seamed together, and I've made another one of Andrea Mallory's cowls like this last year. I made her shift cowl, and it was a ton of fun to work on, so I have a feeling I will really enjoy this one as well. And I'm very, very knit fluenced by Knit Cheek for this one, because she's knit 2 of these, and I thought they both looked stunning, and so it made me want to knit one. So that is number 2. All right, next up is another one that, again, if you've been following me, I've been talking about this for nearly a year. I've had the yarn the whole time, and I just haven't cast it on, and this is going to be the year that changes. But I want to knit the Miles Shirt Jacket by Ozetta using this Manchalope that I bought specifically for that pattern, like I said, a year ago. And this is in the dark brown colorway, I'm pretty sure. And I want this so bad. The Miles Shirt Jacket is so my style, it's not even funny. I am constantly pulling just oversized shirts, my husband's shirts, everything over whatever I'm wearing, and that is my overshirt that I wear out and about, and it's my preferred look. And so the Miles Shirt Jacket is just a really cool way to do that in like nice wool and something that I made myself, and I want it so bad just because it would make so much sense in my wardrobe. And so it is going to happen. It will happen. I will make sure it happens. I do need to re-swatch. I swatched for this with the recommended needle size a year ago, and it came out just a little big. And so I need to go down in needle size to US 9 and just try again. And I think it will probably come out perfectly on gauge. And honestly think this might be the next thing that I cast on when I finish my Cognac Sweater, because I do like to have like a textured knit and a stockinette knit going at the same time. And so once my cognac's done, I can do the mile shirt jacket as my next stockinette knit, because I think it'll be a longer term project, and that's okay. But I do need to get it started because I would like to wear it. So that's the next one. I'm just still, I know I'm going to knit it because it's been a year and I'm still excited about it. Like, I don't know why I haven't knit it yet, but it's not like it's like fading or not seeming like a reasonable project to me or anything. Like, I still really want it. Next up is my one and only tank top plan that I have for the year. I'm not saying that I won't knit more summer garments. This is just the one that I happen to have the yarn for and the pattern idea for. And I'm 100% doing this because I need to get this knitting for all of Pure Silk out of my stash. And I would just like to get it used and gone. This is knitting for all of Pure Silk in the color Plum Rose. And the thing is, this is a gorgeous color. I think it's so pretty, but it's not a color that I necessarily grab for that often. I'm not very much of a pink person, just in my personal style. I do think this is gorgeous though, and I think it would look nice on me. But I've just been at a loss for coming up with a project for it that I think I will grab for enough to make it worth it. But what I have come up with, because I do really like the look of it, is the Cascade Tank Top by Odd Row. But I do think it would look very gorgeous in this pink color. I like just the drape of that one. I really like the detailing on it and the like twisted stitches that run along it, and then just the like subtlety of the cables just along the top. And I don't know, I just think it's really, really pretty, and I think it looks interesting to knit. Like, I don't feel like it looks just boring. I feel like anything I like this fine of a gauge with silk, if it was like straight stockinette, might drive me a little crazy. So I was looking for something with a little bit more interest to it. I had some other contenders. I flip-flopped back and forth on projects for this yarn for a long time, but right now the Cascade Tank Top is the one I like the best. So that is the plan at this point. All right, next up, I did already mention that I knit the Bibliophile 2 last year, and I would like to knit the Bibliophile 1. So the difference is the Bibliophile 2 is a DK weight sweater, and the original Bibliophile is a fingering. And so I already have the yarn for this. I bought this specifically for that pattern. Again, this is the Fjord Tweed Fingering by Sea Change Fibers. This is 89% American Merino / Rambouillet and 11% acrylic / rayon for the Tweedy bits. And it's in this gorgeous, gorgeous green. This is the colorway Verdant. And I love it so much. I just feel like this would make the most stunning sweater. And it's very my color. I would reach for this all the time. I love green. I love green, I love teal, I love blue. Those are my colors. And I also love red. I just like a really saturated color. That's for being really honest. But I love Sea Change Fibers. She always has all natural yarn. She doesn't do superwash anything, but she still has the most vibrant colors. And yeah, I just love her yarn. I'm so excited to have a garment made out of it finally, because I've been just coveting her yarn because it's sold at my local yarn store and I've just wanted it for so long and I haven't taken the plunge. But I do think this will be a great project. And so again, I do like to always have one stockinette project going. And so this would fall into that category whenever it comes around. And it would just be nice and simple. It's just a nice and simple raglan. I haven't decided what neckline I do for it. She has options for a folded, a regular, like normal single layer collar, or a turtleneck. And the turtleneck is one on the cover photo and it looks beautiful, but I'm not sure how practical a turtleneck would be for me or how often I'd reach for it. So we'll see. It might just be a regular, just short collar, not folded, and then just this is an easy grab and go sweater is kind of what I'm picturing. So we'll see. But that's a pattern by Alicia Plummer. I absolutely love Alicia Plummer. I love everything I've knit by her so far, and it's been a couple of things. So I am excited for that one. Next up is one that I don't actually have all of the yarn for, but I have one of the skeins. And so I would have to buy yarn for this one, but I wouldn't have to buy that much yarn because I plan to knit it out of fisherman's wool and they come in massive skeins. So this is, I was actually given this by someone, a friend of mine who was destashing some yarn. And so she had, this is the natural colorway. And fisherman's wool is 100% wool, untreated. It's got a nice rustic feel, but to me at least, it doesn't feel itchy at all. It just feels like wool, if that makes sense. Like it definitely has a texture. And I do really like the natural color. I think it's quite a pretty creamy color. And so what I really wanted, this is one of the only ones where I went like vision first and then found the pattern and the yarn to match. Everything else I kind of went pattern first. But what I really wanted this year was a like white or cream cabled pullover sweater. And my vision being sort of like the When Harry Met Sally sweater, if you know it. I'll put up a picture if you don't. And not necessarily that exact style of cables, but just I don't know, like the cozy, oversized, like classiciness of it. And I don't knit in a lot of neutrals, and so it kind of has to like, I have to like make myself work in neutrals because it's not what I gravitate towards. I gravitate more towards those like saturated jewel tones and like dark yarns. But I did just have this vision of like, oh my gosh, just like a pristine, like natural white pullover cabled sweater. And I think it would look so nice. And so I've had this book for a few years now. This is Crossings by Knit Picks, and I got it at one of their sales, like, I don't know, years, like I said, like 4 or 5 years ago. And this is all cabled patterns, as you can probably guess from the title. But the one I think I want to knit out of here is the Retro Pullover by Stephanie Talent. And I'll see if I can show you a picture, make sure there's not too much glare. But I just think that is the most stunning, just classic looking sweater. I love it so much. And so it's got this honeycomb panel in the front and then the lattice work on either side, and then the lattice is running down the sleeves as well. And then I was totally happy to knit a like paneled and seamed sweater because a lot of cabled pullovers it adds a lot of structure to them. This one just happens to be knit completely in the round. So that is a nice bonus that it will be, you know, fairly easy for me to knit. And not that like, I mean, the cables will probably take some time and all of that, but like construction wise, it's a construction I'm familiar with. It's not anything new. But it just is really, really pretty. I love it. And then the other one that had been a contender, and I think I'm going to stick with the retro pullover. I think it's the style that I want. But I did look for a little bit at the Ines Aran by Donna Eston. And mostly just, I really love the sleeves on this one and how it just ends with the cabling without the ribbing. I think is really, really pretty. But this might be a 2026 pattern or something. Like, I do want to knit more things out of this book. I think they're all really stunning. And the retro pullover just, I have a thing for honeycomb cables. I think they're so pretty. And so, yeah, I think that's the plan. And I think it would look really nice in this fisherman's wool. I need to swatch with it and make sure it works. And as soon as I do, I will buy more of this. But this is really affordable, easy to find yarn. And so I think I would need just like 2 more of these. Yeah, because there's 465 yards. I didn't look at what that was. So it'd be 1 or 2 more of these, and then I could knit a whole sweater, and that would make me very excited. And it would get the fisherman's wool out of my stash because I haven't really known what to do with it. I like happily took it off the front because I was like, yeah, it's wool yarn. I will figure out what to do. But I hadn't had any ideas. And so this, when I finally thought of it for this, I was like, oh, heck yeah, this is awesome. This will be great. And then I have one more pattern that I want to knit out of my books. And so I'm trying to use my pattern books a little bit this year as well. So I just got this book from Knit Picks in their last sale, and this is the Vertex. It's all Intarsia projects, and I have never done Intarsia before, but I want to knit the Blocked Pullover by Sandy Rossner. And so this is, again, I'll put up like a picture up here while I'm talking about the yarn so you can see what the colors I'm thinking of are. And this is another one I'm trying to get some yarn out of stash. So last year I picked up, these are Miss Babs yarns, both of these, they're in her Killington base. And we have the colorway, this is Old Gold, and this one is Russet. And these are both 85% Pullworth wool and 15% Tussa silk. They're really nice, they feel soft, but they definitely have a little bit of a rustic feel to them, and they're both DK weight yarns. And so I want to color block both of these. My thought being, I think I'm thinking of the russet as being sort of the dark blue, and the gold as being, you know, light blue or the natural color, I'm not really sure. And then I happen to have this, a little bit of Wool of the Andes in the colorway Oyster Heather in my stash, and I do think that these look really pretty together. The only thing is the Wool of the Andes is a sport weight yarn, but I think I just need to swatch a little bit and make sure that the weights work. But I think it would be really, really pretty to have all of those together. The other one I was thinking is I have this Mendocino Wool and Fiber Tomke Sport wool, which is also 100% wool, in this brown color. And this would be a little bit more of a low contrast combo, but I do think those are really pretty all together as well. Actually make it so you can see them all. I'm kind of doing this weirdly. Again, this one is a sport weight, and these are DKs, so it would take a little bit of finagling, but this one feels like a fairly thick sport weight, and I think it would be okay. But again, that would be a fairly low contrast one, and this one would be a little bit more high contrast. So I'm just planning to make some swatches for this, but either way, I think I'll come up with something that I really like. And I think it'd be really fun to learn intarsia. So yeah, we'll see. This pattern calls for, what's it called for? It calls for City Tweed, which is a DK weight yarn. So I should probably be able to meet gauge at least with the DK ones. And then just fingers crossed that the sport weight ones work. We'll see. Worst come to worst, I have to buy a third color, which I would like to avoid because, like I said, we're trying to get through the stash, but it would be okay and I'd figure it out. So maybe I'd get a thing of City Tweed to just pull with this because it's not a particularly expensive yarn. So we'll see. I'll keep you guys updated on that one, but I really want to knit it this year and I really would like to learn intarsia and I think it would be really fun. So next up, this one is another one I've been talking about for a time, but it's going to happen. I swear it's going to happen, but I want to knit the Citrine Jumper by Vert Knits in this U2 yarn Melody K that I got at Flock. And this is in her Flock colorway, in the colorway Copper. She had two Flock colorways. I think the other one was Brass, but I went with Copper, which is this really beautiful, like a burnt orange color that I think would just be absolutely stunning. I've swatched for this. I've gotten gauged for this. I just haven't had time to cast it on yet. So I think this is going to get cast on fairly soon, honestly. And at least just get it on the needles, because once I get things on the needles, then they might not get worked on quickly, but I will start to pick them up, you know, here and there. And yeah, I just would love to get this one done. It has all over like slip stitch faux rib is what she calls it. That just looks gorgeous. And it's going to create this like fairly, I think slightly dense fabric, but like it should just be absolutely gorgeous. And then it has twisted rib details, and the twisted rib goes into these little cables at the collar and the cuffs, and then the cables go down the raglan lines as well. Like in general, I just think it's like got just enough detail in it that it's gonna look so special and so beautiful, and yeah, I'm really excited for it. So that one's gonna get cast on soon. Like I said, I've been talking about that one forever as well, and I've consistently just kept wanting to make it. Like it hasn't faded in my brain. I still want it. So all right, and then last but not least, my last one is going to be a lace project. So like I said, we're getting into it. I did want to do lace this year for sure. And this, I want to do the Camelia Cardigan by Mini Me Knit Design, and I would like to do it in this Plies and Hellhounds yarn. This is their fig lace, which is 70% kid mohair, 30% silk, in the colorway Yugen, which is this unbelievably gorgeous burgundy color. I love this yarn, and for the pattern you would hold this double, and I am so excited for it. I wanted to knit this one for a while, but just I started school for the first time in a long time last semester, and I wasn't in the place for like lace knitting at the time. Not that I think this is going to be complicated, but I'm starting to feel more excited about it, more ready for it. So I would really like to have this one this year. I just really would like a garment in this color too. I feel like it would look really, really pretty on me. So, and this mohair feels really nice. Like it doesn't feel scratchy at all. I'm not particularly sensitive to mohair, but this feels like exceptionally nice. So that is my last one. So that's my make 9. I would like to say those are not all my plans. And so I will give you the like runner ups that didn't make the like make 9 grid necessarily. But I will also be knitting a Hue Shift Afghan this year for my niece as a Christmas present. So that's going to be like a full year-long project. I've already cast that one on and I knit one last year. So that one's going to be on the needles. I do have plans for my first stranded colorwork sweater. I really want to knit the Bergman sweater by, I think it's Caitlin Hunter. And I did pick up yarn for it, but I am not going to show it off yet because I think the yarn might be too thick and I don't want to get too excited about it. So on my next podcast update, episode, I will update you on that and let you know if I decide to go for that yarn or if it's more stash yarn, then we have to figure out a project for. I hope I get to use it. But that's why it wasn't in my Make Nice, because I still was uncertain about what yarn I was using for it, and I wanted to only put in projects that I was certain on the yarn for. And then I'm sure I will come up with lots of other things to knit this year. I always like having a hat or two every year. I want to knit more socks, but none of those were super concrete plans, which is how this 9 made the list. And I think that's going to be a really fun group of projects. I think I've got a good combination of ones that will feel straightforward and relaxing and ones that might challenge me a little bit. And regardless of which category it's in, I think they are all projects that I would really enjoy having in my wardrobe. So, but yeah, that's what I have for you guys today. I hope this was fun for you. I like these planning videos, and then I always think it's really interesting to see what you actually follow through on, because based on my luck with other like seasonal planning videos and stuff, all of these ideas are going to go straight out the window, which I hope not. I want to knit them all. But that's life. Life doesn't always turn out the way you plan it. And I actually think it's kind of interesting to see how it does turn out. So we'll see how the year goes. But yeah, I hope you guys are having a good start to your 2025, and I hope it continues to go great for you. And I hope you got some knitting in. All right, bye.